mentorship sessions. So we have these sessions every 2 weeks. So we have like twice in a month. We had the first one last 2 weeks, 10th of January, and it was very insightful. This is another episode of our group mentorship sessions where we ask questions that we may be having problems with or we just want to know more about. So prior to the session, we send out a link to send your questions in. So we're going to start with those people who sent their questions in. And then after we put those questions, we will move into the audience. If you have a question here, you can just maybe put it in the chat or raise your hands when it's time to answer that question. Of course, the call is recorded, and we would always, share with people who want recording of these calls. Maybe they have a question, they need to listen to they need to listen to the question over and over again. It will be great for you. So we have with us Andrew, our lovely mentor for today. He's a product lead at Founders Factory Africa. Whoop, whoop. See his lovely family at the background. Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for joining us today. So we're going to start from the first question. It's from Esther. She said, I'm currently managing a side project, a side product. We intend to go live soon. I thought of sharing my journey step by step on LinkedIn, but I don't know how to go about it. Note, we have done a lot on this product. Kindly advise.
Okay. Is she here?
Nope. Bridget, were you able to get her?
I can't seem to find her on Slack with that name.
Oti Esther Nina.
Nina, let me try that.
Yeah.
I sent her a message, but she hasn't replied, Princess.
Okay, let's hope she gets the recording. Or someone here has something similar or a follow-up question.
Yeah, good. Because I would have really liked to hear a bit more detail. But since she's not here, I'll just give a generic answer. And then if there's a follow-up, I'll answer that as well. I think it's always great to share. You just have to share within the confines of what you're allowed to share and not allowed to share. So did you say it's a side project, side as in on the side, or site as in website? I didn't quite catch that. Okay, so assuming it's a side project, then there are pretty no constraints. The only constraints there are like, well, how much of your intellectual property do you want to protect? While how much do you want to build in silence, right? But what you should be doing in that situation is, I think there are no rules for how you share these things. I think you can talk about step by step. What I think would be helpful, side. Okay, yes. What is helpful there is what I think about doing in things like that, although I don't do it as often as I would like, is I look at, okay, what is the thing I'm doing? So let's say the first thing you are doing is, scoping out the problem space, for example, or let me move on now. Let's say talking to customers, right? To try and understand it, like how the problem sits with customers. So you're doing your customer interviews or you're doing your focus groups, whatever you're doing. It's good to write about, share about a problem you ran into and how you overcame that problem, for example. Or even if you don't want to talk about it as a story, you can talk about the principles you use and why those principles are important. And then just abstract what you've done. So it's no longer your story, and it's more just an abstract set of principles you're talking about. You can just do that as a series, for example. Or you can come back and focus on a particular thing. What I tend to believe is that, and this is my personal preference, so I'm not saying, because it can't be too prescriptive with something like this, but let me talk about my personal preference. My personal preference is write privately first about the whole process, the whole thing. Then when you're done, come back and look at it and look for patterns, look for trends, look for important things that you really want to talk about. Extract those and turn that into something to share. That's my personal preference. I don't particularly care for real-time writing of, okay, this is what I am, because I always say to myself, what if the thing that I'm so fixated on in the moment ends up not being the most important or interesting thing I can talk about? My Twitter is for writing about what's on my head in that particular moment. But when I want to go long form LinkedIn or articles, I tend to want to go through the thing and then take a second view or a third view. So that's my advice.
All right, thank you. I hope she gets a recording. Anyways, so the next question. So the way this person wrote the question, there are two questions here, but there are several sentences. So I'll just take them one by one. So the first one is, I have started Google Project Management Specialization course on Coursera. How can I transform into product management? I believe he means transition. Then the next one is, how or can they be done side by side? So that's the two-in-one in number one. I have started Google Project Management Specialization course on Coursera. How can I transform into product management first? Or can they be done side by side?
Okay, so is the person here?
Is he here? Bridget, is he here? From what I can see, no, he's not here.
Okay, yeah, because when you got, I wanted a clarification. When you say can they be done side by side, does the person mean can learning, training for both be done side by side, or does the person mean can you do both jobs or do both careers side by side? But let me assume they mean, or could they have also meant, could I be a project manager and side by side to that learn how to get into product management? But I think to me, if it's a question of can you learn the two side by side, my personal opinion is it depends on you. Some people can, some people cannot. It's just a quick question of bandwidth, how much time you have to spare based on after your work or other studies, and how committed you can be to doing these two courses at once. But basically, the first question, how do you transition?
Sorry to distract you. He just joined, so maybe he can give us more clarity on that question. Hi, Michael.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so your very first question about your project management course on Coursera, do you mean like the course side by side, the product management course, or practice side by side, like practice project management and practice, or do you mean course, like learning both at the same time, practicing both at the same time? You can unmute to respond. Thank you. Hi, Michael. You're the one we're waiting for. You are the one we are waiting for.
Okay, hi. Good. I'm not sure because I'm actually just coming in here, and I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to clarify. Could you please comment?
Okay. We sent a question earlier today using the link we posted on the general channel, and you posted two questions inside that form. Your first question is what I'm about to read out. I have started Google Project Management course. Can you remember now?
Okay. Hello.
Can you hear your question now?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Michael, can you remember the first question you asked?
Princess,
about...
I think this is the wrong Michael, actually. They just have
it's the one name.
It's the same, yeah, it's the same Michael.
I know, I was not that called this Michael because I thought it was the one that sent that question. Turns out it's not the one.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Like with the same name. Like his full name is Michael Kolawole Adekaya.
I'm so sorry. Where's Michael? Sorry about that.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Wow.
Wow.
So Michael, if you're ever arrested by the police and they're calling you by name, just know that.
Like,
Hold on. There's another one. Product managers. Wait.
They
Anyway,
have both
yeah.
full names, like crazy.
So so I think, well, let me just answer the different hypotheticals. If it's two courses at once, yeah, you can do it if you have the bandwidth, and that's a good idea. Actually, you save yourself a lot of time. You especially because I mean there are a lot of things you learn in project management that are very useful in product management, and also because especially if you are in like having that project management certification may get you in the door with not a startup per se, but some of the bigger IT companies, ICT companies, I should say. And that might be because you all know me, I always say the easiest way to get into product management is to be in a job, be in a company, and then transition within that company into product management. So that's a good path to do. If he's talking about maybe doing after doing the course, or rather doing the course and doing product management at the same time, I don't see how the course will give you any added advantage there. I think at the end of the day, if you're doing the project management course, you either do it first and then do the PM course, or do the two at the same time. But I think that project management qualification gets you a job faster. And then if you have that skill, you can try and transition yourself into product management when you're already inside the job somewhere. I've seen people do that. So that's all I can say without the person in the room to be more precise. Oh, by the way, one of the reasons why I do this is I think being able to write precisely is one of the core skills of a product manager. And one of the ways that I write better is okay, I'm going to give you the politically correct version of this, my internal framework, because I don't say the other part out loud. Here's what I do. After I write anything, I ask myself, Andy, on your most stupid day, when you are feeling very, very stupid, what are all the various stupid ways that you could interpret this thing that you just wrote? And based on that, I look at all the different stupid ways, and then each time I try and tighten up my language to protect what I just wrote from the most stupid version of Andy. So that's a good way. So part of what I do here is I try to be that stupid person for you. I try to interpret what you've written in all the various stupid ways possible to show you that written language especially, is never quite as clear as you think it is. So yeah, just a side note.
All right, thank you. So his second question is, let me just read it all out. Is there a roadmap I can follow towards being a product manager? I found out that project management, product management, software, and QA testing all have Scrum and Agile methodology as part of their curriculum.
Yes, but that's kind of like saying accountancy, project management, and investment banking all have Excel and spreadsheets as part of their curriculum. I mean, Scrum is just a tool. It's the fact that we all work in Scrum, or we all work in agile environments. Like that's all the similarity that there is. Product management is very different from QA testing. Very different from project management. So it sounds to me like he wants to be in product management, but right now he is studying project management. which is not a death sentence. Like I said, there are lots of ways, and in fact, it's a good way to get across. But what the first thing that he needs to do is look at the Venn diagram of what are the areas that where project management and product management overlap, except for Scrum, or in addition to Scrum. And then look at all the places where product management doesn't overlap with project management. And then he needs to figure out what learning resources are best for him to capture those things. If it means another course, great. If it means just going online and reading up on all of that stuff, great. If it means like joining people in product and being more involved, great. But the first step in that roadmap is he needs to go and educate himself about the difference between product management and project management. And it's obviously to any product manager on this call, it's way more than, oh, we all use Scrum. I think that's a sign that a lot more research has to be done there. So I won't go more beyond that because he has to figure out those basics first.
All right, thank you. So those are the questions that were sent in. But okay, now we can ask questions within, I think the second Michael and actually call Michael Adekanye, the second one has joined call. I don't accept maybe he as well. But before we wait for him to join, so you can clarify this question. If you have any questions, you can just raise your hand so you quickly join the queue, or you can put your question in the chat. So, yeah, so do you still need more clarity on this question, or is this the real one? We need to even ask. Hi, Michael. The person that just
Like
joined.
it's very important. They should introduce themselves to each other. This is your long lost brother, your twin brother. And they will look alike. Look at the pictures.
I hope I'm pronouncing it well. I want the sending questions for today's session. Please, you can unmute to speak. Hello. If you know your name is Michael, I send those questions.
Well, I've seen this fellow impersonating me. I've seen the fellow.
Well, if I may, since we've already used up 23 minutes, and if he had been here at the start, he would have been able to give context. Michael, I have answered your questions to the best of my ability. I wanted some more context from you, but you were not here in time. So, well, you can look at the recording, and if you still need more clarification, reach out to me directly. But I think we should use the remaining time for other questions that we may have. If there's time at the end, maybe we come back to him.
Okay, that's fine. So, Michael, thank you. So, if you have questions here, you can just, raise your hands. But while we wait for people to do that, there was a question that somebody asked during our checking call last week. Got different answers, but I need your view on that. So she mentioned that she was in the team, or she's in the team, and they brought someone senior to the team, and it looks like she's not really being carried along within that team. That the person is executing, and she's also doing her own thing. She's wondering how can they work in synergy. The person is new. PM on team, but a way more senior PM than her, and she has been the person, like she's the old member, the new member, and she was wondering how the whole dynamics can work, where she can learn from that person, because she's talking about how she's not learning from the person, but the person is doing like a lot of good work and stuff while the person just joined. So we just gave different advices, and we shared how best we thought could attack the situation. So I can share your view on that. You're muted, Andrew.
Sorry. Yes, just to clarify, did she give any details on what the reporting lines are like? So does she report to this person, or they both report to maybe the same head of product, but this person just is more senior? Like, is there a reporting line situation
I
there?
can't really remember. I can't remember who the reporting lines. Bridget was on the call as well. Bridget, I remember the reporting lines. Senior PM.
Sorry, please, can you come again with the question? Is it for the girl that asked about?
The girl that asked that question during the last check-in call.
Okay, is a senior?
So she reports to senior PM, or two of them report to like.
No, she reports to the senior PM.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, she reports to the senior PM.
Okay. So well, that's interesting. So I guess my question would have been, well, if you report when the person this is the person you report to, this is your line manager. When your line manager first started work, didn't you guys have some sort of one-on-ones or some sort of contact? And then if the situation is now, it's usually and I understand this situation because even though the senior PM is her line manager, the senior PM has also been hired as an IC, as an individual contributor. And that can be very difficult to balance. And sometimes as an individual contributor, as a PM, especially if you're not working on, like, say, a suite of apps, right? If you come in as a PM and you as a senior PM and you're working on a suite of apps, for example, or the app you're working on is fairly complex and large in terms of different pieces and features, and then you now have a few PMs reporting to you, it's easy to break up the work, right, and assign duties to everybody. But if you're working on a relatively non-complex app, then there's a very big temptation as the senior PM who is in charge and who is responsible to just take on that work, and it's difficult to allocate work in that situation, because then it's no longer the division of labor is no longer horizontal. It is now vertical. Sorry, 1 second, please. I apologize. 1 second. It's a family issue. 1 second, please.
While we're waiting for Andy, if you have questions, you can just raise your hands or chat and you answer any question at all. So yeah.
Yes, sorry, apologies about that. Yeah, so in that situation, it's hard. Once it's not, if it's horizontal, you can say, okay, you handle this piece, you handle that piece. But when it's a simple piece of work, then the division is more vertical, which is like maybe I am the senior PM, so I'm looking more at about the roadmap and all of that, and I'm maybe handling this thing. And then you, the junior PM, maybe you are handling the user stories. But so for a lot of PMs, senior PMs, they'll be like, well, why would I do that? Let me just do it on myself. So I'm just trying to give an insight into how that senior PM may be thinking. So I think our person, what she needs to do is, well, I don't know, did she talk about reaching out to the senior PM and saying, excuse me, ma, please, I need more responsibilities here. Is there, as you're doing this one, is there anything I can be doing? Or in fact, it's even better, rather than to ask, is there anything I can be doing? It's also good to volunteer and offer and say, I know that you're taking on this whole role, but as part of my work of reporting to you, maybe I can work on user stories, or maybe I can do what they call it, like maybe in the example where maybe there's some customer interview work, maybe I can do that, right? And then so that's one thing she could be doing. Yeah, Bridget, go ahead.
I think it's a question.
It's
Not
a
like,
question. Oh.
oh, not a contribution.
Yeah.
Princess, I'm not hearing you.
Andrew, let me help to interpret what Princess is trying to say. I'm raising my hands to ask a question, but not to interrupt what you're saying, just when you're done.
Okay. Oh, okay, no problem. Yes. So yeah, like you have to ask that. Offer, always offer. Like offer to take something off the person's head. And then either the person accepts or not. Some people are also control freaks and no, I don't want to give up anything. But then you have to, like, in that situation, you need to build up a rapport because that's your manager. And you can say, look, I need to know what I'm doing because of my KPIs, etc., etc. But you have to offer specific. Don't ask what can I do. Ask, can I do this, or this? Offer. If that's not forthcoming, you have to lean on, like, look, please, for my KPIs, etc., etc. Then separate from that of getting tasks, there's also one of learning by observing the person. To do that, again, that's if the person were here, I'll be asking questions about, well, what collaborative tools do you guys use? Are you guys ever in the office together? What's your stack like of tools? And are there shared documents? If there are shared documents and stuff, a good way to get carried along is to look over those documents. And then either in one-on-ones or at opportune times, like reach out and ask questions and say, okay, this piece of work here, these user stories, well, these were great. I'm trying to learn how to do my user stories like this. Why did you do this instead of this? At some point, I think part of the problem is generally that we as a people are taught not to put ourselves out there, especially when it comes to our seniors. But I think this is a situation where if the senior does not carry you along, you have to hold the hem of their garment. So there's no other way.
All right, thank you. We just like the summary is hold them of your manager's garment. Anyways, thank you, Andy. So, you can go next science question.
All right, thank you, Princess. So this question is more of like what I'm kind of dealing with right now. I have an idea of what to do, but I just want to hear your own opinion, Andrew. So in my company, we have like, so I work with an edutech company. We build learning products for kids. So we have like a suite of products, like different products doing different things, right? Although they are grouped under like a thematic pillar and the likes. So we have all of this distributed and our product is web-based. So we don't have like a mobile app for kids to access it. So for them to access it, they have to go on like a browser. So the idea for that is they're saying that mobile phones might not have like enough space for them to like install kind of application that we build because of all the assets and all of that. So that's why it was web-based. And I've noticed that accessibility is a problem because from interacting with kids, we noticed that they're always like, is there like a app they can download? Trying to access their browser, then put in the URL is like a hassle for them. So I'm like, okay, let's have all of this in one place as well as a mobile app that they can install in their tablets because kids interact mostly with their tablets, not really their parents' phone per se. So like, okay, let's do that. So to do that, we're like, okay, let's first of all consolidate all of the products because these products exist individually. So there's one product like product A, product B. But since it's one company, we're like, okay, let's consolidate everything, put it in one app, right? Then we can have that and build a mobile app where kids can access it. I don't know if you're familiar with Khan Academy Kids, Andrew.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so think of us, Khan Academy Kids for Africa. Yeah, so something like that. So this is more of like the product roadmap. So the idea is, okay, let's first of all consolidate everything, right? Let's have like a web base because we're want to use React Native to build the mobile app so it can both work for iOS and Android. Let's do that first, then we'll then do the mobile app. So I am telling my manager or I'm talking to like management, okay, let's do all of this and relaunch, right? The mobile app and everything consolidated web-based. But they are saying no, let's consolidate everything, launch the web-based app. So everything will still be web-based though, while the team is still working on the mobile app. But I'm like, the problem we're trying to solve is accessibility. The mobile app will still not be there, just that now we're doing like a refurbished web-based app again. Do you get? So they're like, nah, we have to launch one by one. I'm like, can't we just wait? Let's build everything and launch together. So I don't know what you think about
that. Well, see, this happens quite a bit actually. Now, so I have two questions. Sorry, I always ask questions instead of answering them. So I think my first question here would be, what reason are they giving for not wanting to wait to launch both at the same time? Because they're not just saying no, they are saying no because we have to release the web-based one as soon as it's ready. Because, so what's that because? So that's my first question.
So that because, to the best of my knowledge, is they want to say, okay, at least we're churning out something because we've not released anything for a while. And the aim of what we are doing is more like a publishing house of products. So they feel we have not released anything for a while. So why are we hoarding something that we have ready?
How can you hoard a website? So okay, so that's the reason why they delayed. Now, how did you get them? How did you convince them in the first place that the app was needed? Because you said that at first the first decision was website only because the apps would be too heavy because of the resources. But now, because of the accessibility problem, you saw that no, we need to have the app. How were you able to convince them to add app back to the equation?
Okay, so initially, because the company it was acquired, right?
Okay.
Company, yeah, it exists. It's a Kenya-based startup, but was acquired. So we're trying to branch off to like Nigeria and other Africa countries, right? So that was like the idea. That was what they were selling, and they started building these suite of products, like this publishing house we're trying to do. And I noticed I went into like analytics, and in terms of monthly active users, daily active users. I think one time I was discussing with Prince. Prince was like, "Wow, Bridget, this is your monthly active users. It's not looking too sweet, right?" So I had that as well as some other initiative because they're trying to like drive us getting users, right? Coming up with campaigns to get kids to just introduce them to the software or what we are doing. And from all of this, we noticed that kids enjoyed using it. But they just use it for like that period when the campaign is on, and after the campaign, it goes down back again. And we started having like conversations with kids because I started introducing usability like studies and stuff with other members of my team, and they were able to like record some of these sessions, and they could hear that kids are saying, how do we assess it? It's my mom's app. Oh, there's also another problem. I forgot to mention it to you. Thankfully, you asked this. So the way kids can sign up, they have to sign up through their parents' email with just one email address. So there's a problem of, what if I'm a parent with 5 kids? How do I track all of my kids? So there's still that problem. So we noticed that, and parents have asked this. We started asking questions, like asking the right questions, digging deep, noticing some things that idea of web-based might not really work, and also that single sign-up process for just one email account to register like 5 kids. So more of like digging deep, research questions and stuff. So they were able to like, okay, see reasons with data backed up that, okay, let's see. Because they're still like, okay, they believe this might work, but they actually want to see that these mobile apps, I'm also counting on it that God, I beg, like active users go up, please. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. Let me tell you how your people are thinking. What your people are thinking is nothing spoiled, right? They feel even if let's say you Because what you're suggesting is don't launch anything until the mobile apps are ready, and then so you launch the mobile apps and website at the same time. And they are thinking to themselves, if you do that, then you don't have any product between now and whenever that happens, right? They
Yes.
think, well, if instead you break it up, and yes, you still have your app launching at that same time, but now you have website launching earlier than that. Then between now you have some sales, right? You will have some conversions and you will have some activity between the launch of the website and the launch of the app. And even if those and active users are not very high, even if it's low, and nothing spoiled. It's still shy revenue. It's still shy active users. Right? That's how they're seeing it. Now, they could be right. They could be wrong, because there's always a downside or a risk of a downside, and the downside is that
Sorry, please. Is it me? I can't hear Andrew.
It's Andrew, but I suspected myself that Andrew, your network.
He's frozen.
Yes.
Am I back?
We can see
Hey,
you, but we can't hear
yes,
you.
you are back.
I'm back.
You're back, yes.
Okay, thank you. So what was the last thing
Yeah.
I was talking on?
So there might be a downside to them. It's either they are wrong or they are right. That's where you're going at.
Okay, so the downside could be churn. The downside could be that the website acquires some users, a few users, right? And those users are turned off by a bad experience, and they leave. So there's churn. And then there's churn, and then that churn leads to also negative word of mouth. In my experience, that's the only argument I have ever
That is
used.
what I've been saying.
Okay, now you need to have that.
I feel they'll come into the funnel and fall off again.
Yes, they will come in and they will fall off. Now, my question is, what are you guys using for growth? How are you promoting or planning to promote the website and the apps? What are the channels?
I have a couple of plans. So we have a distribution strategy. First of all, having pop-up visits. That's physical initiatives. So pop-up visits in places like schools, churches, where we have parents, kids, and the like.
Mm-hmm.
We're also talking about collaborations with some another startup that's more of a portfolio company, right? They already have softwares in some of these schools to also get a reach into schools. And we also have a sister company too, right? Because CCHub is big in education. So we have a lot of connection sister companies that we can push and tap into.
Okay. Now, so coming to that, now, sorry, I asked a lot of questions. What do you think what's the timeline we're talking about? So timeline from today, how long until the website is ready? And then 2, how long from today until the app is ready? More or less.
So,
I know asking the PM that question
we
is
have
a very wicked thing to do.
We've actually drafted the roadmap and discussed with the engineering team. So for the website, we're looking at the end of Q1, then the mobile app by the end of Q2. So I'm telling them wait to Q2.
So what you're saying to me is website will be ready in 6 months and the app will be ready by Christmas. That's what you're saying.
No. Website is ready by Q1. No, this I'm being honest, because we told them that, but with my engineering team, we're actually looking at finishing up the website by February. I just added an additional 1 month so that the stakeholders will not be on my neck.
Okay. So if we do that, so then the website, then the app ready by end of Q2.
The website or the mobile app?
The app, sorry, end of Q2, right?
Yeah, by June. Yeah, May, June. It should be ready. If they allow us to focus. because focus is
Yes.
also another problem we're
Focus
facing.
on the issue. Yes. So
Yeah.
you have to want to. So here's what I would advise: go back to your data from when it was obviously just the website, the old website, right? Go back and see if you can get some data on the churn level, some data on that, right? And come back to and say and make the argument with data that look, even if the website is revamped and refurbished, as long as we still have this access issue, as long as it's still browser reliant, we're still going to have this friction and it's still going to lead to churn. That's one. Now that and they will say yes, sure, even though. Your second plank in your argument is now, okay, if you want to still go ahead with this, can we at least delay on pulling the trigger on the channels, on the acquisition channel, or until the app is ready, or until closer to the time of the app being ready? So let the website be up, but not being actively pushed. That way, if the website is getting usage organically, good, but then that way we are not like eating into our real market at a time when the product is not even really an MVP and ready for them, and at the risk of a high churn, and then having to go back and reacquire those customers with a bad taste in their mouth. So step one, use the data from the past website iteration, the churn data on that, to make the argument that we'll still be in the same position today. Add to that argument the fact that anybody we lose today will be harder to reacquire tomorrow, and it's a finite market. School children is a finite market. And then if those two arguments don't work and they're still insisting, then make the third argument that, look, okay, if we're going to go ahead with this, can we at least minimize the promotion until closer to the time that the app is ready, to minimize the downside?
Yeah, I actually think that might work. Because the first one, I've been at it, like Andrew, I've been at it. I've explained this whole thing, like, oh, the funnel, it doesn't make sense. People that have bad experience usually talk more than people that have good experience. I've said all these plenty things. So I think maybe what I can do,
yeah,
like what you mentioned, is minimizing like promotions, right? And maybe amplifying it when we're closer to the release of the mobile app, so that as they're getting into the funnel, they can activate stuff that will help retention and the like. So yeah, thank you, Andrew. Princess, so is your internet still shaking?
30 minutes, sort of Bridget's question. Anyways, we have some questions in the chat, and we hope we can take all of them. So we started at 7:05 to 8:05. We have about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Zion Igwe, he said, as a product manager progressing along in my career, how do I streamline my focus more towards the product discovery / research side of things? And does that in any way make me less competent as a product manager if I decide to be less focused on development? Also, does this new trajectory lead to a change in job titles from product manager to something else? He's on the call, so he can give more context.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a straightforward question. I think, how do you focus? You focus by focusing. You just, so the question now becomes first and foremost, should you focus, right? So if you are at a job already, if you already have a job in product management, then you have to ask yourself, what does my company actually need? And if I have a long-term goal here, what focuses or what competencies, what areas of focus would improve my prospects of advancement here? And that should be what governs your focus, right? And the decision to make a focus. If you don't have a job yet in product,
I think his question is, he wants to focus on product discovery and research. And he's wondering if that will make him less competent as a product manager, and if he's going to change his title from, like, if he focuses more on product discovery and research, will his title change to something else, maybe UX researcher or something, and will it make him less competent as a product manager? I think he has decided already. He wants to streamline, and he wants to know how to streamline it to that product discovery and research.
Yes. So I guess my question is, what's informing that decision to focus, to make that focus? Is it just what he likes and wants to do with his life, which is a good thing? Is it based on what he sees that his current job may need of him, which is also a good thing? Is this based on, I'm seeing other jobs out there, and this is what, and this is an in-demand focus? If he's on the call, I think I really want to hear that before going any further, because focus for focus sake, I'm never a big fan, especially early on. So I want to know.
Is the network just confirming?
Sorry?
I want to ask, towards the end of your question, I think you... Please, did anybody else hear?
I must have dropped off. No, so I'm asking, is he on the call? Let him explain why he's making this choice.
Yeah, I'm on the call. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Zion. Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of focus, why I want to focus is the first thing you mentioned. Like doing the whole product management thing, I've realized that I do the whole research and discovery thing better, and I like it more. And also I've noticed a gap in not just the Nigerian market, but like the African market in general. Discovery and research isn't really a focus, or even if it's a focus for companies, they don't necessarily do it well. So I see that gap, and I see an opportunity for career advancement in that line.
Okay, good. Now, that's a good reason to do it. And again, it's a question of degree. It's a question of degree of how deep and how far you focus. If you could end up being just like, you could call it what they call it these days, a research PM or user research PM. You have that as one of the, I think they're up to, Roger has an article about the 10 different or 12 different types of PM, but I think it's probably more like 20 or 25 at this point. So that's a possible landing point. Another landing point is what Princess pointed out, UX researcher. It depends on how far you go off the reservation. To me, I think the title doesn't matter as much as the job. So definitely, if you're narrowing down on user research and discovery, there is work, and you're seeing that there is work out there. By all means, do so, and don't be too worried about what your title ends up being. Because what I have found is one company's research PM is another company's UX researcher. Am I right? Is there anybody here who can say, yes, we've seen this happen, that the same set of the same set of tasks in one company are being called, it's being done by a PM, and in another company it's being done by a dedicated person, in this case a researcher. And so you will find that you are in a liminal space where your leg is in, you have one leg in each camp, and that will probably end up being for the next 4 or 5 years how you see yourself, before eventually you decide, well, how much focus do I really want to go? And then at that point, there's going to be a full divorce. But by all means, if you're seeing the opportunities there, what I would advise in terms of how to go about doing it, take the courses, learn the tools, learn the techniques, drill down, do a lot more whilst keeping your PM job, do more research gigs on the side as much as you can, build up the portfolio, build up the CV, and then start applying for dedicated researcher jobs and see how that goes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andrew.
All right. Second question. Oh, this is Esther on the call when we shared. Person who asked about the best practices on how to share your journey on your side projects on LinkedIn and Twitter and engage your followers. Do you want to give like a summary while she's here?
Yeah, Esther, I think I want to hear from her. Just if you can really quickly tell us what you, if as much as you like, as much as you're comfortable, what you're working on and what you want to share. And then I can give you very specific advice.
Okay, good evening, everybody. All right, thank you, Andrew. Okay, what I'm currently working on right now is like an exchange app, a black market rate exchange app, yes. So I want to put myself out there, but I really don't know how to do it because I'm not much of that kind of person that puts puts her business out there. But I realized that is like the fastest way to get seen, and I really want that. So I want to share some of my experiences on LinkedIn and Twitter, to and have like engagements about it. So I don't really know how to go about it. If I should post about the project or if I should post about just the experiences that I have gained during the course of the product development. So that's where my concern is.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, you said you're not the type of person who puts themselves out there. What is it about putting yourself out there that you don't like or you are hesitant about?
I've not. I would say that I don't really like so many people in my business, but transitioning into tech, I have noticed that it goes well with people that are out there. You get, so I've spoken with some people, and the whole thing still boils down to, in as much as you have your CV, your portfolio, and everything is going well for you, you still need to like have that audience. So that's what I'm trying to build, and it's like from the scratch, and I'm a bit confused on how to go about it.
I think what I say first of all is, first and foremost, forget about engagement, right?
Okay.
Forget about engagement. The thing with engagement is when you're thinking about engagement, it gets in the way of your authentic voice. So forget about engagement. Imagine, in fact, free yourself by imagining that nobody will read what you're writing, right? Or maybe only one person. Stephen King is one of my favorite writers, and he always says, write with one person in mind. Right? Just have one person in your mind that this person is going to read what I'm writing. But beyond that, what is the most interesting aspect of what you're doing to you? Here's what I mean by that. Here are the options. Is it the thing you're building that's most interesting to you? Is it the problem you're solving? Is it the day-to-day things you're doing in the process of solving the problem? Is it the problem space? Like what's the thing that when you think about it, you're lighting up? What aspect of?
Okay. I think what fascinates me the most is me building the idea from the scratch and getting it live. That's what fascinates me the most. That aspect is what I always look forward to every day.
So you're all about the process. You're Mikel Arteta over here, like, trust the process, right? Build it. Okay. So yeah, Arsenal, baby, Arsenal. Anyway, so okay. Then that's what you should write about. And that actually can be fascinating. The question now becomes, how do you write about it in terms of
Yes.
confidentiality? So you have to be careful. One, what are the things you can talk about and the things you cannot talk about, right? Then, because this project, is it first and foremost, are there constraints in terms of confidentiality?
No.
Okay. What you need to do, here's what I would advise you to do. Write first of all without publishing. Write for yourself. So here's what I need you to do. This is my homework to you, right? And I am ready to read it. Okay. Every day, at the close of every day, write, in your notes or whatever. It doesn't have to be long. Write out everything you did on the project for that day, right? Everything. What were your tasks for the day? Which of them did you achieve? Which did you achieve? What problem did you face? And how did you overcome that problem? What thing did you knock out of the park? Which problem beat you up and you had no solution for it? Write it all out, right? Every day for the whole week. At the end of the week, look at it and say, of all of these things that I did this week, which stuff here was the most interesting, most fascinating, most powerful? Which of these things resonated with me the most? And then from that, you can now create a small, not an article, a small thing that can go on LinkedIn. And you can commit to doing one of those a week, okay, based on your notes from the whole week. Does that sound good as a start?
Yeah, it does. Makes sense.
Okay, so here is our deal, you and I. Right here on Slack, you can just Slack me every 5 days. So I'm expecting, every week. So I'm expecting next Tuesday, or no, let's just regularize it. Friday. On Friday, I'm expecting your notes from the week, and then let's talk of what your article should look like.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
All right, thank you. We have just 3 more minutes. Andrew, I don't know if you're able to answer any question in 3 minutes, because this question looks like, okay, let me just say it. Good evening, everyone. It's from Oluwaseyi Adebayo. Good evening, everyone. Please, can you share an insight on the product breakdown? Is it the same as competitive analysis? I was giving the task and it's overwhelming. Thank you.
Well, no, it's not the same as competitive analysis. I think it's just really, I can't answer that question in 3 minutes, Princess. I think let's look at that question I can answer.
See what's going to happen. So we have another question from Amos Adereti and Oluwaseyi. So Andrew, see what's going to happen. Yes. Oluwaseyi and Amos, just copy a question the way it is here now and paste it on the questions channel and tag Andy. I am promising you that Andy is going to calm down and answer the question. I'm going to have it there, and of course, it's going to help other people who may have that question as well. So, Oluwaseyi Adebayo, just copy the question, paste it on the paste post, paste it, copy and paste. So paste it on the questions channel and tag Andy. Amos, do the same as well. Tag Andy, and he would respond to the question. Andy, are you going to respond tonight?
No, I can't respond tonight. I have another commitment, but I can definitely respond tomorrow evening.
Okay, so he's going to respond tomorrow to your questions. So I'm going to not be tomorrow to actually answer the questions. So don't worry about that. Just lift the question and paste it there. Yes, please. So that we can close. Started at 7:05 and we want to wrap this up by 8:05. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Andrew, for answering our questions. There's some people who got preferential treatment today, e.g. Bridget, 30 minutes for one question. But it's okay. Anyways, thank you for joining.
Andrew, thank you.
Yes. Anyways, we do this every weeks, twice a month. So see you guys in the next one. Have fun, take care, have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.